Hi guys, we are back today to talk about some more foundational things to do while you're at home or while you don't have access to your normal gym equipment. So you can see I'm in a squat, and that's because today we're going to talk about the 10-minute squat test. That might sound a little bit crazy when you hear that, and maybe it is, but there's a guy out there, he's a physical therapist, his name is Kelly Starrett, and he's probably not the first guy to talk about this, but he's the guy that popularized this squat test. You may know about him. He's kind of CrossFit's physical therapist. He runs a website called Mobility WOD for workout of the day. He has a whole library of YouTube videos. He's written a bunch of different books. But one of the things that he likes to do is something called the 10-minute squat test, which is basically exactly what it sounds. Spend 10 minutes in a squat, right? So there are some associated standards with that. One of the things that can happen when you squat, I'm gonna move back a little way so you can see my feet. One of the things that happens when people tend to squat is their feet tend to rotate outwards to make it more comfortable. So part of the squat test is, can you do that with your feet generally in a straight line? He allows for about 10 degrees of rotation outwards, which isn't very much, but it's enough that you don't have to be truly parallel with your feet. The other kind of criteria is that you get into a squat, and then at the end of the test, you can stand back up out of the squat. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch me squat for 10 minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about squat mechanics, and you can see everybody has a different length tibia, your lower leg, different length femur, kind of your thigh bone, if you will, and then different upper body proportions. This is what my squat, after years of spending some time in a squat, looks like. Somebody with a shorter tibia, so right, if my tibia ended here, they might be a little bit more forward, or they might be a little bit further back. Your balance and your center of gravity change based on your bony anatomy, and there's no one squat that is the best. There's just the squat that works for you. I'm pretty vertical in this squat. You'll notice some people at their full depth squat, they're much more their back is much more forward like this. That's not a problem, that's not good or bad, unless it's an indication of some kind of limitation on their part. So, 10-minute squat test, it's something you can do at home, it's pretty easy. We're going to talk about one other piece of this because there's one thing that tends to contribute to limited squat mobility more than anything else, and that's ankle mobility. So, you'll notice that your ankles have to be able to get into a pretty good position in terms of what we call dorsiflexion, which is your ankle's ability. I'm going to sit for a second. So your ankles dorsiflex and they plantar flex. Other joints in the body, we say they extend and they flex, but we call this, in the ankle, we call it plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. If you can't dorsiflex well, if you have a limited motion, so say you can only get to here, to neutral, it's going to be very difficult for you to squat deep because neutral is here with a vertical tibia. A vertical tibia is fine if you're standing, right? So you don't have to have any ankle dorsiflexion when you're standing. You can be at neutral. But as soon as you start to squat, if my ankles can't dorsiflex, that means my whole squat has to be at my knees and hips, and you just can't do that. As soon as you can ankle dorsiflex, then you can sit right in. But you can see here, the angle of my ankle is pretty sharp. I have pretty decent ankle dorsiflexion because I've been working on it. So here's a way for you to test that. There's a lot of ways to do this. Some people would describe a certain length of distance here. I'm gonna use this little baby dumbbell as an even marker. And here's what you do. You put it against the wall. In this case, the wall is gonna be the frame of my squat rack. And then you put your big toe up against that. And again, we're just using this to standardize the distance because I didn't draw the distance on my platform here. And then all you're going to try and do is you're going to try and touch your knee to the wall without your heel coming up, without your foot rotating, without your knee rotating. Just trying in a straight plane, just trying to drive your knee all the way to the wall. Okay? And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And you're going to try to see, is there a difference from side to side? You can tell that's pretty easy. And this is about the right distance. You're thinking kind of the standard that we use in physical therapy, I think, is around 11 centimeters. I don't test it that often. Mostly I'm doing a gross assessment, but at home. And again, you don't have to do 10 centimeters. Find something that's about the width of your palm. And again, my palms are bigger, your palms may be smaller, your mileage may vary. That's okay. Find something that's about the width of your palm. Test it side to side. If that feels easy, good, then you're probably okay. If you get to here and then your foot starts coming up, your heel starts coming up, you might say, man, I need to work on that because I should be able to get to here pretty comfortably without my heel lifting up. If my heel lifts up, that's an indication that I need to work on that. There's lots of ways to work on calf stretching so you can get into that ankle dorsiflexion position, right? You can use your standard calf stretches that you've learned, whether that's in sports, in the Army, or you can do something that we call eccentric strengthening, which is the lengthening phase of a contraction, right? So when you contract a muscle, easy to visualize with a bicep, right? So you contract the muscle gets shorter, that's your concentric phase. And as the muscle lengthens, if I'm holding something, I'm fighting that. I'm still contracting the muscle as it's lengthening. That's the eccentric phase. For your ankle, here's what we do. We put you up on something like this. Doesn't have to be quite this high. This is a little bit too high, but it allows me to get all the way down. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go up, and you can go up with both feet, right? But then I want you to pick one foot up, and I want you to go all the way down. And then you can put your other foot down and come back up, and that's okay. Pick that foot up, and then you're just gonna go slowly down, kind of fight that lowering. And I want you to go as deep as you can into that. And you should feel a good heavy stretch throughout your calf, kind of all the way from up high here, all the way down through your Achilles tendon, okay? And same thing, come back up. You can do these in sets of 10, sets of 15, adding those into your daily routine. Often you can do this off of a staircase, that's maybe the easiest way, but adding these into your daily routine will build some ankle strength. First of all, it's gonna build some calf strength, some Achilles tendon strength. It's also gonna build your mobility because it's gonna force that muscle, both of them, the gastrocnemius and the soleus, it's gonna force them to lengthen over time. And time under tension is what builds that strength, and it's also, because we're lengthening it as we're contracting it, it's building the length of that muscle as well. Give those a try, see how you do on the 10-minute squat test, and see how your ankle mobility is. When you add those things together, it's a pretty powerful set of tools to begin to build that foundation of good movement, right? We talked about balance last week, and this week we're talking about the squat because the squat is a foundational movement, and if you can't do that well, there's a high likelihood that you're gonna get injured during the course of your Army career doing any kind of lifting activities, movement drills, whereas if you can get into a good solid squat position pretty comfortably and stay there, there's a good likelihood that that's gonna set you up for success. Go try it out, see how it goes, let me know.